Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Spirituality and Business interview series. I'm so happy to have all of you with me. Today, I'm with the amazing Gina Hussar. Gina is a writer as well as an intuitive self shaman, a business strategist, and she helps conscious entrepreneurs to grow their income, impact, and level of fulfillment by integrating their businesses to be complete expressions of themselves and their highest visions. I'm so excited to have you with us today, Gina. You have really amazing gifts that I know from getting to know you in the past, and I'm really grateful to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I love this topic. I geek out on
it. So do I. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that. So could you tell us a little bit about what your spiritual path is?
Oh, that's such a deep question. I can tell you the one thing I know for sure is it's ongoing. Never ending. For me, my biggest spiritual breakthrough, the biggest gift that I ever got was probably like my first anxiety attack,
and
I don't suffer from anxiety attacks now, but I had one, and it was the greatest gift because my little kids, I had two at the time, I have three now, where I was on the back porch and they were watching me through the glass, and it was just this big, like, wow, okay, something's not right.
Yeah.
Something needs to shift here. So at the time, I knew I needed to leave my marriage, and it was the catalyst for this unwavering courage of, okay, it's time to start this business. It's time to take control of things. It's time to get aligned. And that was really the start of it. And, nothing tests your spirit more than a divorce and starting a business and doing it all at the same time.
Oh my goodness, that's so much.
Yeah. So I actually started out in inner peace and spiritual coaching, and then a couple people heard that I had worked in magazines and was a writer and said, hey, can you help me with my copy? And it just kind of took off from there. It became more of a copywriting and brand strategy business, but we are definitely based, deeply rooted in consciousness and spirituality. And in fact, we are getting ready to open a new division of the company that's really leading with that. Wow. Yeah, so it's exciting.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. And I've seen some of your work, and like I can tell that the spirituality is very much in it. And I really love your approach to the brand strategy as well. Like it's very, I think, like personal, like getting to the heart of the person and not just, do whatever looks.
Yeah, thank you. That's the goal. I mean, we really feel like, I read a quote somewhere that said something like your worth cannot be proven. It can only be subjectively experienced. So that was like the boom. That was the moment we were like, okay, we completely revamped our brand workbook, because that to me is where it starts, is you have to embody the next level of yourself so that you can project the next level so that it can be subjectively experienced. So yeah, I'm glad you feel that way, because that was the goal.
All right, yeah, and I really love the idea of like embody the next level of yourself, so then you can experience it. Because I know a lot of people, they try focusing on changing the outside, but I've experienced the same thing, that when you focus on changing the inside first and on embodying who you want to be, that's when the real transformation happens in the external world as well.
Absolutely. Yep. It's a signal. It's like a bat signal, and people catch it and start calling. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear more about how spirituality impacts your business. One thing you said that I really would love to hear more about is the difference between alignment and integration.
Yeah, so for me, I firmly believe like that this whole interview series is about consciousness as a business strategy. And I really firmly believe that your intuition is your funding. It's your most lucrative business partner. It's your venture capitalist. Like that your intuition is the strategy, and for me, I was always so focused on alignment. And it really, what I realized is alignment somebody actually in our B School group said this, is getting all of the energy moving in the same direction, whereas integration is energy coming in from all angles to one core, right? So I feel like you have to integrate before you can align. So, you know, the example that I always give my clients is the company Nerd Fitness, right? So, you know, it's two things you would think might be opposites or this weird paradox, but it became unique value, right?
Yeah.
So that guy integrated. He took all of the pieces of himself that made him who he was, and a nerd who wanted to get fit, and aligned all of that in the same direction. So for me, we are not meant to be segmented and compartmentalized. You know, we're dynamic people, and it's important to me to be spiritual. It's important to me to have money and support my 3 kids. It's important to me to feel creative. It's important to me to be impactful. All of those things are, you know, ingredients in the recipe, and they have to be attended to. So what I started finding was I was working with some really well-known high-level coaches and authors and speakers, but I had a couple who were making 7 figures.
Oh, wow.
And exhausted.
Oh.
One was actually hospitalized for exhaustion.
Oh,
you know, one was saying that her energy was in the toilet and she was seeing the doctor and her relationship was falling apart. And I thought, okay, that's not success, right? So for us, the business is turning into sort of custom curated prescriptions that are based in integrative success. So is this part of your life being taken care of while you're building this part of your life? Because that I think is the biggest way that conventional wisdom messes us up. I almost said the F word, messes us up. Because, you know, we're taught to laser focus and niche down and, you know, have hustle and keep your eyes on the prize. And I disagree completely. I've done that and it burned me out. And I really believe that you have to integrate first.
Absolutely. And I really love hearing you say that and being able to share that in this space, because I see so many people right now talking about just alignment and, you know, like just get aligned, get aligned, get aligned, you know, alignment in selling, alignment in marketing and all of that. And I do, in my experience and from seeing other people, I feel like it is kind of missing a piece of the puzzle, and it sounds like the integration is a really important piece that needs to be acknowledged.
It does. And I think, you know, alignment has become almost like a trendy buzzword.
Yeah.
And it's so important, but I always try to think about aligned with what? You can be aligned with your audience, you can be aligned with your JV partners. Integration makes sure that you're aligned with yourself and all the pieces of you that matter. And I have said no thanks to some really big ticket clients because I knew that would put me out of harmony. And I think harmony is almost a better word than alignment.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's so important that you have enough faith in your own instincts to say no to something that might be financially lucrative if you know that it's going to eat up all your free time, make you feel like a bad mom or whatever. You know, it's so important that energetically you are integrated. Otherwise, nobody's getting the best of you, and
at least of all yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I've noticed there's a way too much focus on like just the dollar amounts, even among like kind of spiritual entrepreneurs. You know, they focus on, you know, how much money are you making and not what's the whole picture.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, I read this and it really hit home with me, and I wish I could remember who said it, but it basically was the idea of don't have goals. And that resonated so much with me. So I really don't have goals. Goals F you up, right? Because if you have, again, another way conventional wisdom fools us, law of attraction, laser focus on exactly what you want. No, right? Because I was just thinking about this the other day. This is not business related, but I used to have this goal of this hallmark moment of the kids helping me decorate the tree and the music was playing. No, they don't care. They want to be on their phone. So it was another example of why you should have themes rather than goals. So my theme was peace and harmony. And so I decorated the tree myself with my Christmas music on and my glass of wine, and I was perfectly happy. If I had laser focused on that goal of them helping me and it looking exactly like that, I would have been miserable.
Yeah.
And the same is true for business. I really, really believe that if you have that goal of $10,000 a month, if you don't hit it, you feel like a failure, right? Yeah. If your goal is peace, harmony, integration, balance, freedom on every level, you hit your mark so much more often.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I feel like sometimes when we set financial goals, they can be arbitrary. Like we have this idea of what looks like, and then if you really dig into it, it's not the money we want, it's a certain experience or something else, which maybe you could get without hitting that money goal in a even more powerful way.
Absolutely. I talk about this all the time with one of my mentors, Jim Nislonger. We talk about the fact that so many people optimize for that result, right? The $10,000 a month or the $1 million launch or whatever. And it's like trying to plant a tree on really awful ground, unstable ground that's not fit to grow anything. You have to optimize for the condition.
Yes.
Right? So you have to optimize yourself in order to get what you want. Basically, you cannot hit that goal if the conditions are not optimized for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned like the idea of don't have goals. I think it's been said in other places, but the one place I remember it is in the book A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And she actually talked about that in the book, about kind of trusting the universe to provide. And I've even seen a few people in Law of Attraction sort of shifting their perspective on goals and saying like always add or something better, don't just like manifest, so in your situation, like the kids helping with the tree, it's like that or something better.
Yeah. It was quieter without them, quite honestly. It was fine. But no, I think you're right. I think, and it's been said a bunch of different ways, I think.
Yes, it has.
And, I think Danielle Laporte says it too. It's her core desired feeling. So you don't want to hit a goal. You want to hit a feeling, because at the end of the day, that's what you're going for, right? What will $1 million launch feel like?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people find out that it doesn't feel good because you've had to kill yourself to get it. So I really think your chances of hitting those numbers you hope for are better if you optimize the condition first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen, I think that we're starting to realize that more, because I'm seeing more and more successful people talk about that, how they don't focus on hitting monetary goals. They focus on being of service. They focus on building a business that works for them. They focus on being at the top of their game. Yeah, and when they focus on that, then the monetary goals, they knock them out of the park.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And I think too, we are programmed to want certain things.
Yeah, we are.
So our definition of success is so informed by other people. And I was in a group when I first started that was very competitive and, do anything you need to do to hit your numbers. Whew, I couldn't do it. And I realized that what felt like freedom to me was not what they were defining it as,
Absolutely.
I'm not a millionaire, but I make great money and I support 3 kids by myself, and I take afternoons off to have lunch with my honey, and that's freedom to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want to quite honestly, I don't want to do the work that goes with making multiple seven figures.
Yes, and I really appreciate you talking about that, because there's so many people that don't. We just talk about, ooh, millionaire, awesome. But then, like, first of all, if you actually kind of break down the millionaire, the millionaire lifestyle, there are a lot of things that you can actually afford without anywhere near seven figures. And second of all, yeah, it's hard, it's not easy.
No, it's not. I've been lucky enough to have a bird's eye view, having worked with some of those people who do those types of launches. And I remember looking at some of them and thinking, I would never, ever want to do what you do. And some of them are great, and I have a lot of respect for them. But that's their thing. They don't mind working 12 to 16-hour days during launch time. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand, and I love people talking about that more, especially people who have seen kind of under the hood of those launches, because so often money just brings up so much crap for people that if you say, oh, I don't want to be a millionaire, some people go, oh, well, that's just a limiting belief. It's like, no, sometimes it's objective.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, listen, if I got $1 million in the lottery, it's not like I'd turn it down. But I also believe, I can tell you, full disclosure, that I hit my 6-figure year, my goal, when I kept my eyes on my own paper.
Yeah.
When I stopped being informed by social media and sort of those false postures of progress and people in front of their cars. And I really just kept my eyes on my own paper, and I followed my intuition, and I was of service. I was, answering questions in groups for no money. And then that was really when I hit that coveted 6-figure goal that everybody talks about. It really happened when I let go of the shoulds and the have tos and just did it my own way.
Yes. And also like the comparing yourself and all that, because I've been in groups where they are very competitive, and the energy just doesn't work for me at all. And it's good to be aware of that in yourself, and because then you can choose the groups where the energy works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear more about what you call the 3 I's in business.
So my team and I started calling it like the in crowd, because they were all words that started with I-N. Because to me, like, these are the 3 things that if you master them within yourself, you can't lose. And they are intuition first, integration, and intention. So your intuition will give you your clues as to what feels good and what doesn't, and what's right for you and what isn't. And then it'll tell you what to integrate. You'll know when you're feeling off. You'll know when something's not getting the attention it deserves. Your intuition will tell you that. That's your clue to integrate more. And then you set your intention for getting the things you want from that integration, right? So those are the 3: intuition, integration, and intention. And those are what I'm journaling about. Those are the questions I'm asking myself every day. What is my intuition telling me? Where do I need to integrate? And then I set the intention for the theme, not the goal, accordingly.
Amazing, yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that. That sounds like a really powerful technique. It's really great to hear about.
Thank you. I can see you're glowing even more.
It's Ireland. Where did the sun come from? I put the freaking. I'm sorry to everyone watching this. I tried. I did.
You were meant to shine today.
I was, yes. Anyways, yeah, so you've already talked a little bit about the themes rather than goals. I also love what you said about balance over bank account.
For sure.
Especially,
since,
like,
I mean, do you feel the same way? Like I'm guessing that, you and I share a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
I think there are many, many ways to be free. And, I will never forget when I used to run a magazine called Front Row Monthly, and we did very well. And I remember I'm in Pittsburgh, and we were doing a shoot out in LA that I was trying to run virtually.
Oh, wow.
And I remember my son at the time was 7, maybe, and he's almost 15 now. But I remember him coming beside my computer and telling me something, and he started to walk away, and his shoulders were down, his head was down, and I realized I had no clue what he said.
Yeah.
No clue. Didn't listen to him. And that I honestly shut down the magazine the following week because I realized that I had no balance. None.
Yeah.
All of my energy was going to that thing. And it didn't, MTV came to our party. We were invited to New York. All those goals you think will make you feel so good. I felt like shit. I felt awful. My son, I had disappointed my son. And, those lessons are so painful, but they're so great.
Yeah.
Because every one of them is a turning point. It's a turning point in your plot. And that was really another moment where I started, balance became a bigger theme.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. Look, oh my gosh, like MTV and all of that, like, and just shutting it down, that's so much courage and strength in that action. That's really amazing.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it made me sick too. But
I'll bet.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, not easy.
But it was right. I've never regretted it.
I'm glad. Yeah. And for me, one thing I've realized is that I'm not particularly motivated by money. So for a while, like, I was trying to do what everyone was around me was doing, of setting goals like financially. And honestly, I had no particular interest in hitting them. Aside from saying that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I shifted to focusing on, doing work that feels good to me, getting my clients results, the other aspects, that's when things started falling into place a lot more.
For sure. And there's a musician in the city, Frizzy, who just won an Emmy for his work on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood documentary. And he posted something this morning that said, "You've got to love the process." And I realized that that's, for so many of us, we love the goal. We love what we think we'll feel like when we hit the goal. But if we're really honest, we don't love the process. And I think for me, that really was a big shift too, was if I don't love the process, I'm not going to appreciate the result. Yeah. It's not going to feel good. I'm going to feel like I sacrificed and gave stuff up. And I also don't believe in sacrifice. I know there are a lot of coaches out there preaching you got to have grit, you got to have hustle, you got to sacrifice to hit your mark. No, you don't. You really don't. So, I think that's it too. A lot of people say, well, how do I know I'm on the right path? If you love the process, you're on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you can love the process. And I'm kind of opposite for many people, because I prefer the process to the goals. And so when I was working like locally, I wasn't comparing myself to as many people, and I had much more confidence in just trusting the process. And when I came online and was working with coaches there and was in those spaces, I was told repeatedly that I had to focus on goals, and it didn't work for me. And now I'm finally getting back to the place of saying, screw the goals. I'm getting back into the process, and it's really beautiful how things can unfold when you do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think for so many of us, we have to, there are certainly best practices, right? I write a lot of marketing funnels for people. There are things that we just know work. They're tried and true marketing practices. Yes. But I still believe you have to listen to your instincts over best practices even. I'm doing something in the new year that I'm totally not doing the traditional way. And I don't even have a good reason for it, other than I know for sure it's not meant to be done the traditional way.
Yeah.
And I think if you can have that much faith in your own instincts, you know, that's when you don't feel like you're sacrificing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the resistance sort of goes away.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I absolutely agree that you need to be aware of best practices, but I have a heavy art background, and one of the like main tenets of art that I just love is learn the rules, then break them. And I think like that really applies to so much in life, you know, learn business strategy, learn marketing, learn sales, understand why we do the things the way we do, and then follow your instincts, because you'll have the knowledge so that you can do it intellectually informed and in a way that really works.
For sure. Yeah. And do it, I mean, and tweak it, you know, I mean,
always.
You know, the best practice, and then sort of rewrite it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, best practices are great, but our world is changing so fast, you know, you got to keep trying new things.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I know that you said that you don't really have like huge challenges as a entrepreneur who's spiritual, but you did mention idea overload and feeling things so deeply. And I know that's something that a lot of spiritual people deal with. It's like there can be times where we get into that download space and it can be just totally overwhelming, you know. So I'd love to hear you talk about how those have impacted your business and how you've navigated them. Because I know that you've had like what most people would consider a very successful business. You have a team, you know, you're making great money.
Yeah, you know, this has been a lesson. I really believe that my first mentor, Shanda Sumter, used to say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I believe that. And so when I get into, I think a lot of us have idea overload, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of us get this download, we call them, right? And it's like, oh my God, that's the thing. That's the next thing. And you go and create it, you run it. And, you know, I have really learned that that is not the way. And this might get me some comments of people saying you're wrong. For me, when I get a download that I think is a download, right? And I'm so excited, and there's so much enthusiasm and frantic energy and urgency to create, those are the wrong ones. Right. And I will say this, the same is true for men. So I remember meeting somebody, and boom, lightning bolt, knees weak, heart racing, not the one, right? Because people think that spirit speaks in, you know, lightning strikes and thunderbolts and flames and sparks and frantic urge. No, spirit speaks in whispers, in peace, in safety. You know, the truth doesn't have any energy attached to it, really. There's no positive, huge levels of enthusiasm, and there's no negativity. The truth is neutral, right? So when you get a download that you don't feel a major emotional shift in, I believe those are the ones you follow, right? And when I met my love, my current love, I didn't feel weak in the knees, heart racing. I was just like, it was an exhale. It was like oh, there you are. And I believe that that's true for business partners, for clients, right?
Yeah.
I believe that spirit speaks in a feeling of groundedness and peace and neutrality. So I think when you get into idea overload, you have to really ask yourself which one has the least charge. That's probably the right one. Whereas conventional wisdom tells us the opposite.
Yeah.
That's just me. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but the more I talk about it, the more people say that's happened to me too, you know? So, and I think the other challenge I have is I think when I answered your question, I said it was feeling things so deeply that I do get
Yeah, you did.
distracted, by personal things. I want to amend that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that, I went through a divorce. My dad was having some health problems. This October, I lost a friend of 30 years to a terrible disease. And I think that when those things are happening, I don't want my focus to be on my business, right? I want it to be on the people that I love. I think the challenge is reminding yourself that that's okay.
Yeah.
If that's what harmony and balance feels like to you, that's okay. I think for me, the struggle is that old programming of, well, if you're not working, you're not making money and you're losing visibility. And I think it's having that unwavering faith that no, if you're being asked by your soul to take a minute, it's okay. And if you firmly believe that everything you're doing is already fully funded, right, by the divine or God or whatever you call it, you can take a minute and everything will be fine. I think that's my biggest challenge, is sort of overriding conventional wisdom.
Absolutely. And that's a challenge I see many people struggling with, but I've also seen like successful, like 7+ figure entrepreneurs who kind of went radio silent for a while because they had to take care of themselves. Something was happening in their lives. And then they came back, sent out a thing to the mailing list explaining what happened, or even just saying, I needed time to myself, not necessarily even going into detail. And I feel like we get so focused on like business, and we kind of forget why we're doing it. We're not doing this just to create something that's going to run us into the ground and we're chained to for the rest of our lives. In fact, most of us, we create a business to get away from that.
Exactly. And that was a big shift for me, as I realized probably about a year ago, I was so busy. I mean, I had the problem everybody wishes they had. I had too many clients.
Yeah.
But it wasn't making me happy, and I realized it was because it wasn't my business anymore.
Yeah.
They were in charge, right? They were setting the deadlines. They were telling me when I was going to get on the phone. They were telling me when I was going to work. And I was like, I left the corporate world so that I didn't have to answer to anybody. And I love them, but I had to shift. It was my problem. I had to shift how I was serving them, what I was doing. But I think you bring up a really important point of, it's okay to take a minute, and to remember that if it's yours, you can't lose it. And if you lose it, it wasn't yours. Whether your business, somebody in your audience, your list, whatever. If it's yours to have, if it's part of your destiny or your life path, you can't lose it. So you can relax.
I've noticed a lot of entrepreneurs have kind of a fear of being seen as human. So that kind of comes into it. You're like, no, we can't have human foibles. We have to be this superhuman, picture perfect, polished image. And more as people are going through those periods and they have to choose their personal life over their business for a while, we're starting to realize actually our audience likes that we're human and they like seeing that humanity,
Yeah, and I think for most of the people listening to this are people who have a client base of some sort, whether they're a holistic practitioner, a business coach, or whatever. You have to set your boundaries too. When I send my client contract, there is a legal portion and an energetic portion. I have it in writing, right? They know my hours, and they know why I set those hours. Now, some of them don't read it, but it's there. Like I can always go back and say, hey, this is part of our contract. Is my kids come first, right? If my kids are sick, I'm taking the day off. Period. And I won't work with people who can't understand that. I actually I probably burned a bridge with a really well-known coach because she wanted me to finish something, and my aunt passed away. I had to go away out of town, and she said, well, you said you would do this. I need you to do this today. And I said, no way. Like I'm at a funeral. Not happening. I prepared. I gave my team everything they needed to do to finish it.
Yeah.
She said, no, I want you to do it. I gave her money back and said, here, you take it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I will not
Yeah.
put myself in a position where I'm not deciding what comes first.
Yes.
Now, I want to be clear. My clients are very important to me. I will meet your deadlines, but the humanity first.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And this, that's something that I teach my clients to do. Most of my clients right now, they're people who are at the very beginning of their business, and at that point, like a lot of them, they have this idea of I'm not allowed to have boundaries. You know, like I can't afford to have boundaries because what if I lose a client from it? It's like, good. You don't want to work with a client that doesn't respect your boundaries.
Yes.
You know, like, yeah, we wouldn't, if, you know, if we were like dating someone who didn't respect our boundaries, we'd say, you know, probably want to break up. If we had a friend who didn't respect our boundaries, we'd say no, maybe not the best friendship. Why do we accept from clients things that we won't accept from anyone else? No.
Oh my God, that's so true. That's so true. And it's funny because I remember when probably like 6 months in, the big thing was put a pop-up on your site so that people can book free sessions with you. And everybody's goal was to get as many free sessions.
I know. I remember. Oh my gosh. I know.
Some girl posted, so happy I did 200 free sessions this month. And I'm like,
oh my gosh. Yes.
I took off the pop-up because, like you said, I thought to myself, where else in your life are you okay with people you don't know?
I know. Yeah.
Coming into your space and telling you when they're going to talk to you. Like, it'd be like 200 strangers knocking on the door of my house and coming uninvited. No. And they were horrified that I did that, but it worked because it actually, people said, why don't you have free sessions? And I said, I don't have time. Now, when somebody wants to inquire, I absolutely talk to them for free.
Yes,
but I set the time with them. We work one-on-one. I don't even have an online calendar because my schedule changes so much with my kids. I will call you or Facebook you or email you and let's choose a time that works for both of us. We will talk, no charge. But the thought of letting people I didn't even know book time on my calendar for free, $200 a month. No.
Yeah, absolutely. And as one thing I've noticed, and in the online coaching space, because at least where I lived, it wasn't something I ever experienced in person, but like this idea of doing free sessions, I'm starting to notice that I feel like it's people who are nervous about the actual sale, you know, so it kind of gives them a buffer between having to make the sale. And so when I see people, most of my clients, I don't tell them to do free sessions unless like they're brand freaking new and they need the experience. And I'm like, okay, here's how you get consults, here's how you get clients, not just here's how you spend all your time giving value away for free because getting someone on a sales call makes you nervous.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head. I think there's a difference between a free session and a free consultation. I will give you a free consultation to see if we're a fit, for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give free sessions every day. I'm just not going to do it. And, you know, I think that it is, I don't have sales calls. I don't. You know, sales essentially are a transfer of enthusiasm. So if I'm really, you know, really jazzed up about what I'm doing and I'm telling you and I know we're aligned and I think, oh my God, I can totally help that person, you don't have to sell anything, right? So don't be afraid of a free consult, but you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And that, I know some people out there who are early days in their business, it's really easy to look at Gina and myself and think, well, you know, of course you can say that you've got a successful business, but no, that's from day freaking one, guys. Okay? Yep. Day one.
Yeah, I think I was 3 months in when I took away the V-Site up pop-up thing, and it was the best thing I ever did. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I also hired a VA before I could afford it. I remember, and it's so like it sounds so silly, but I had a charm bracelet. There was something I needed set up, and I don't know tech for sure. I can't do it. and I needed something set up, and it was stressing me out so bad. And somebody said, you need to hire a VA. And I had a gold charm bracelet from a high school boyfriend, and I sold it for $800, and I paid my VA. And I was like, and she was so valuable. I made money off of that.
Yeah.
Because it took stress off. I could focus, so I'm all for, you don't want to put yourself in a bad position, but you also have to sort of take some leaps that feel,
yes,
good to your instincts and good to your soul, and absolutely know your worth before it's showing on paper.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the really nice things about like with VA and hiring someone, I don't know what you did, but for people watching, you can hire someone just like on a project basis. You don't have to take on a full-time employee with a salary and benefits. No, you can just say, I need someone to do this one project for me, find the money for it, just like Gina did, and do it that way. And yeah, I actually recently had a conversation with someone about when your business is ready to hire people, and honestly, it tends to be a hell of a lot sooner than people expect. Yeah.
I mean, your business is ready to hire somebody when you start feeling overwhelmed, period.
Yeah,
like when there's something that's not your expertise.
Yes.
I mean, because if you start trying to do it, it's going to steal your energy. It's going to make you feel frustrated.
Yeah.
That's when it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, that's a really beautiful way to look at it. Okay, so I know that as we're recording, the links aren't ready, but this is going to be going live much later, and I know that you have something to share with us today, so could you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this. I just renamed my corporation Higher Media Group, and the whole idea is to create a conversation and a platform of services and content that is aimed at higher perspective, higher earning, higher living. So coming up in the new year, we are launching 3 levels of higher. The first is High Rollers, which is our private consultation. And then we have High Society, which I'm so excited about. It's our membership circle. It's totally, accessible and affordable. And it's the idea of High Society is it's business coaching, and you're going to get a ton of spiritual coaching and personal development stuff, brand profiles, products we love that serve the whole individual, because integration is key. And then we're doing high maintenance, which is we've never done this before. It's private coaching via email, because you need an answer from me, and you don't want to pay for private coaching that's on one-on-one by phone. So we're doing this by email, and it's really affordable, and I'm really excited about that. So the whole goal when we were putting this new brand together was redefining what it means to be high society and to get high, like redefining what that means. It's all about higher earning, higher perspective, higher living, higher love.
Beautiful. I absolutely love that. And I would absolutely love to hear about how the coaching by email goes. Because I actually one time worked with a therapist by email, which was interesting. And yeah, it's not something a lot of people do. So I'm really eager to hear how that unfolds for you. And so the links are available below this video. I absolutely encourage everybody watching to check those out. Thank you again, Gina, so much for taking the time to be here with us today and for sharing so much about your journey and your insights. And like, there's just been so much value here, so much actionable advice. It's really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I love seeing you and talking to you. So this was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and to everyone watching, as always, thank you so much for being here, for joining us on this journey and letting us be a part of your lives. It's been so fantastic creating this interview series. So thank you to everyone. Thank you.